Hey everyone, RogueGold here, welcome back to the Division 2, and today I am presenting a build video based on the new exotic masks that we just got from the Battle for Brooklyn DLC, that being the Catalyst. In case you are watching this and want to know how you can actually acquire this item, I've done a video breaking all of that down. I will leave a link for it down in the description if you need it. But ever since we first learned about this item, saw what its talent was, I had a sense that it was going to work pretty darn well in a build like the one that I'm showing you today, and so now that we have it, now that I've tested that out, it is gratifying to know that that hunch was correct. And in many ways, this kind of feels like the culmination of a few different elements that I've been liking more and more in the recent months. All these different components of the build coming together in one cohesive loadout. So I'm excited to get into this. There is one really big PSA that I need to give before we continue, however, and that is that at the time of me making this video, the Catalyst mask is actually bugged. There was a card put up on the game's known issues board recently stating that stacks of the CATALYZED talent do not grant you the stated bonus weapon damage and status effects. So, in light of that, some of you may be asking a perfectly valid question, why make a build video when this thing is currently bugged? Well, for one, as you saw in the gameplay, this already works really nicely. It does great damage, and so when they fix this and it gets more damage, that just means it's going to be even better. Getting more damage also doesn't fundamentally change how the build works, right? It still functions the same. But then the other big part of this is that there are 3 different components to the talent, and specifically only that damage granting catalysis part is not working properly, and so even though it is bugged, we can still see and analyze how these other parts work into and benefit the build. So again, just to be clear, if you are watching this video soon after I'm making it on Friday, May 30th, the Catalyst is currently bugged. That card on the known issues board does state that a fix is in the works for the soonest approaching update, which is Year 7 Season 1.1. That is likely going to be dropping on June 10th to the best of my estimation, and so if you're watching this video a few weeks, a few months, or beyond in the future, then this has all been resolved and you can disregard. But with all of that explained, let us get into this build breakdown. Alright, so here is the build. A lot of elements within this build, such as my primary or the gear set that I'm using, a lot of you are likely pretty familiar with these already. I'm going to cover them briefly, but primarily I want to spend my time talking about how the Catalyst fits in to all of this, because just about every part of the talent on that item complements the rest of the build. And that's pretty cool. So for my primary, I have the Bluescreen Exotic LMG. Everybody has been raving about this thing in the recent months. It has kind of been rediscovered how good it is at CC or crowd control. It applies all of these various status effects, including Disorient, which can stagger enemies. It's just a very strong and reliable weapon, right? It ends up then pairing perfectly with the Ongoing Directive gear set. The 2 piece of this is 15% status effects that increases the duration of those effects that I'm applying with the blue screen. The 3 pieces reload speed. LMGs need reload speed to really make them good. That's nice. And then the 4 piece makes it so that applying status effects lets you mark enemies, and if you kill a marked enemy, you then get hollow point ammo, which gives you even more damage and applies bleed on hit. Importantly, we're also using the ongoing chest piece here, which gives us the Parabellum rounds amplification talent, increasing the damage of those rounds to 50%. So a ton of damage from just this right here, right? The other important item to look at is our backpack. I'm using 1 piece of the Cheska brand to get 8% crit chance, but then I'm also using the Wicked backpack talent, which means that when I apply a status effect, which could be the bleed from ongoing, could be one of the things that the blue screen dishes out, I get an additional 18% weapon damage for 20 seconds. And in total, before we look at the Catalyst itself here, you can see I'm going all red everywhere, weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage. On the blue screen, I am achieving 54% crit chance, 81% crit damage. The crit damage is a little bit lower. That is just kind of what will inherently happen when you run gear sets that can only get 1 stat roll. But really, you make up for it in the raw amount of weapon damage that we're able to get from all these bonuses. Let's now take a look at the new Catalyst item and how this fits into the whole picture. So it comes with weapon damage, which is great, and then hazard protection, which doesn't really help out. It's not a bad stat to have, it just doesn't directly contribute to what we're doing here. But then it also has status effects, which again can increase the duration of the ones that we're dishing out. The talent is the real gem though. If we go down to chemical agent here, catalysis means that anytime I deal a status effect, can be any of the ones they list out, then you build stacks up to 12. Each stack gives you 2% weapon damage and 2% status effects. And so with a build where I'm constantly dishing out all different types of statuses, you're very easily going to be able to maintain the maximum stack of catalysis, which means you're getting 24% increased weapon damage and 24% increased status effects, which even though we are not going for a status-based like damage build, again, that still helps out. It increases the duration of all of those things. So that part already plays really well into this, and I'll show you just how well in a moment. But then if we quickly scroll down to the other parts here, we have reactant. That makes it so that when we're at maximum stacks of catalysis, which again is going to happen pretty often, killing a status affected enemy will give us 25% bonus armor and 20% reload speed for 5 seconds. Firstly, even more reload speed, which is great for an LMG, like we talked about. And then the 25% bonus armor is just the cherry on the top. That's great to get a little bit of survivability on this otherwise fully damage focused build. And then you have stabilizer, which lets you continue ADSing while on fire. This of course might not come into play 100% of the time, but when it does, it's certainly nice. Alright, so really quickly, I just wanted to demonstrate how effortlessly the Catalyst really fits into this build. On the one hand, again, just by using the Bluescreen and Ongoing Directive, we can shoot an enemy, and that will start building up those catalysis stacks, as you can see down on my HUD. So that's one way, but then another part of the build is that I'm using the Gunner specialization. This gives you good perks like reloading, armor on kill, things like that. It also gives you access to the Banshee Pulse, which applies Disorient to any enemy that it hits. And this is actually like a way to instantly max out your catalysis stacks. Look at this. If I do that on those enemies, look how quickly the bar just filled up, because all of those are counting for individual stacks going towards that total. And so just like that, I have 24% extra weapon damage and status effects. All in all, this is a super fun build, one that dishes out a ton of damage, has a lot of solo utility in terms of its crowd control. What else is there to say? It's a ton of fun. Well, there you have it, my friends. That is the breakdown of the build. I very much hope you enjoyed. As I mentioned earlier on, this very much feels like a culmination kind of build. You know, a few months ago, I rediscovered the Bluescreen and how strong and fun that is. Pairing that with Ongoing Directive has been a ton of fun. And so to now add the Catalyst into the mix just feels like putting the bow on top of it all. Overall, this build is just tons of fun. Whatever you all are thinking, reactions to the build I've shown here, if this has sparked any ideas in your head to try different things out with it, I would love to hear whatever you're thinking down below. If you did enjoy the video and you want to stay tuned for all of my future build breakdowns, guides, everything on The Division 2, then I hope you'll consider clicking that subscribe button. We'd love to have you around. As we close out here, I have to give a thank you to our channel members for everything that you do on here to support me. It is beyond appreciated. That is just about everything I have though, folks. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold out.